The last 18 months have been tremendously difficult for all of us. First, COVID-19 came up. Simultaneously to COVID-19, the transformation of working from the office going into homes, which meant a lot of efforts for many IT departments. Simultaneously, a new foe showed up: threat actors, hackers. Cyber risks are never before as prominent as they are right now. We do see at the moment every 35 seconds a malware attack. Every 40 seconds, in principle, we have an extortion. There are different types of extortion. The fundamental message I would like to leave here is we are changing the risk landscape. A lot of attacks are not anymore against directly one company. It's against the entire supply chain. What are we taking out of this? Quite simple. As Marshall McLuhan once said, it's not just the image that changes, it's really the entire framework that changes. So if you take the bridge to cyber, it means the past is not necessarily relevant for the future. The future is something uncertain, and means you have to think for the future. Cyber, digitalization, digital trust. Trust in your data, trust in your system, trust in your employees, and the ability to match these requirements from a shareholder point of view, from a regulator point of view, is fundamental. Cyber risks are unparalleled in a number of views. In comparison to the real virus, cyber risks are 100% man-made. They're highly contagious. They are global. They spread extremely fast. And most important, they're very often non-kinetic. Non-kinetic means truly state-sponsored. As Donald Rumsfeld once said, it's cyber warfare between states. At the moment, there is a hidden war going on already between what I call Shenzhen, Washington, or you say the West Coast, and ultimately also Moscow at the end. This particular warfare becomes more and more tremendous. Tremendous in the form of hitting supply chains of companies. So we saw in 2021 various attacks against supply chains, starting with Colonial Pipeline, going over to Kaseya, data manager. Previously, before, we had attacks against Microsoft servers. And these attacks are primarily really going to the direction of supply chain issues. One other prominent one was SolarWinds. The challenge of such attacks is that the impacts are not immediate. They are not imminent. They become in the future, 6 months, 9 months ahead. There are impacts towards the P&L of a company. How has this changed from the past? The evolution of cyber risk? Well, we started with very simple worms, malware, and as went over to social engineering attacks, phishing attacks. 2021, still the most frequent attacks are phishing attacks. The frequency is phishing. The severity, really, we will see, is going to be very much ransomware attacks, not just double T ransomware attacks, but what I call triple ransomware attacks, where the target is not one company, but the supply chain. Such an example, particularly relevant, was Kaseya in July 2021. The risk will become more complex. The challenge for a CEO will become much more complex going forward. And by saying much more complex, that means you have to be on the front foot. You can't have the size on not reporting directly into the board or having in the board directly integrated. That would be disastrous. Cyber is not an IT risk. Cyber is an enterprise risk, which will, at the end of the day, have an impact on your stock, the way external regulators view you from a digital trust point of view, and the way your customers and suppliers are seeing you. It's an intangible asset or it's an intangible liability for you. Innovative CEOs see the risk as a chance. They will focus on digital trust. the trust into the data, the trust in the system, into the means, into the people, and not just seeing it as a liability. That's the future, and the future needs to be compared and combined with the CISO. Let's just have a look in the way the real virus and cyber viruses have certain differentiations, certain similarities at the end. Fundamentally 3 points. Both are global risks. Both have a potential man-made issue, as we have seen, but they're fundamental differences as well. One of the fundamental differences, cyber risks travel much faster. They can't be stopped at the border. You can quarantine to a certain degree cyber risks too, but the fundamental difference is they're both highly severe and potentially highly frequent. Many overlaps, many challenges going forward. 2025 will have a sensor industry around the world, which is roughly going to be 1 trillion sensors. The same token, we are changing it to 5G. Lots of data is out there. Where data is, there is oil. Where oil is, there are intruders, and these intruders have an interest to explore vulnerabilities at the end. These vulnerabilities are issues for companies, for states, and individuals as yourself. Where's the next generation going of cyber attacks? The next generation of cyber attacks is very much really non-kinetic warfare. Think of the example. Somebody is weaponizing IoT. An impact on thermostat. A couple of years ago, we had an attack on a thermostat within a casino. That thermostat was using actually to rob the casino at the end. But think about it a step forward. That step would be very much along the lines of impacting using thermostat to change at the end of the day the heating of houses. What's the consequences? Turmoil on the one side, chaos on the other side, instability potentially, issues. These issues are geopolitical, economic, and social. These combination of the 3 factors can be deadly, can be disastrous. What should regulators do, and what regulators do already at the moment? Well, we're looking at our privacy. We're looking at the privacy of companies. Right now, we don't have an aligned privacy directive or privacy regulations around the world. Very often, cybercrime doesn't stop at the borders, but the enforcement might stop at the borders. We need to work closer together. Authorities need to work closer together. The political society needs to get involved closer. We need to have not just definitions of words such as cyber terrorism, but we need to have the nations acting together. At the moment, threat actors, state-sponsored threat actors are on the rise. And these particular state-sponsored threat actors are becoming a big issue. And not just on the security of a company, but the security potentially of a state. And this needs to be changed. What are we taking away going forward? Really 3 things. Expect the unexpected, number 1. It's not about if you will be happen one day, it's about when or whether you have already been attacked. The consequences are much more severe in respect of potential damages, in respect of liabilities. This means you have to embed risk management into enterprise risk management, CISO into enterprise way of thinking, include the CISO directly into not just the strategic meetings at board level, involving directly into the business. How can you defend? There's a lot of technology out there already, but one thing which is crucial, technology should never drive people. People should drive technology. AI will have an impact, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can help and is already helping to defend quicker, to recognize an attack, detect the attack, control the attack, and most important, defend the attack. By combining the 3 elements, board, responsibility, integration of the CISO into the business, and ultimately bringing innovation to the table, you're really closing the triangle. And that triangle is quite simple. Cyber risks are imperiled. Cyber risks are extremely challenges, but they're not just downside. They leave an innovative CEO a big upside to make a difference compared to any of its peers and competitors.